Hello, hello, hello. This is Gresh from the I Am CEO podcast, and I have a very, very special guest on the show today. I have Amanda Mottola of Otraway. Amanda, it's awesome to have you on the show.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm excited to be here.
Definitely super excited to have you on as well. And before we jumped in, I want to read a little bit more about Amanda so you can hear about all the awesome things that she's doing. And Amanda is the owner of a marketing firm called Otraway. She started her life journey in Asuncion, Paraguay, where she later returned to South America to find her birth family. The poverty and realization that this is where she could be fueled her desire to live life to the fullest and to do honest work for the good of the world. To date, Otraway has taken less and contributed thousands of dollars to organizations supporting veterans, first responders, children, and families. For fun, Amanda enjoys traveling, spending time with family, cooking, antiquing, and drinking a great cabernet, and writing, of course. Amanda, are you ready to speak to the IMCO community?
Yes, of course.
Awesome. Well, let's do it then. So to kind of kick everything off, I wanted to rewind the clock a little bit, hear a little bit more on how you got started. Could you take us through your CEO story? We'll let you get started with all the awesome work you're doing.
Yeah, of course. It's not quite a short story, so I'll try and condense it for you. But like you said, I was adopted from Paraguay when I was, very young. And, that's really impacted me over the course of my life. But it's my entrepreneurial spirit kind of all starts back probably about the time when I was like 13 or so. I was going to a private high school, and all the other girls got cell phones pretty much handed to them. And so I went to my dad thinking, I was going to get a cell phone, everyone else is getting one. And my dad looked at me, he goes, absolutely not. He goes, you want a cell phone? He goes, you earn it. And I look at him, I go, Dad, it's child labor, like I'm 14 years old. I can't get a job. Are you crazy? And I was, not so thrilled, and probably had some not so choice words for him. And I left that conversation bewildered and fuming. And, I grabbed a phone book, and yes, a phone book. And there had been this cheerleading store on like a main street in town. And I called the woman up. I said, listen, I really want a cell phone. I know how to work. I was like, I don't have much experience. I'm technically not supposed to work, but I know a lot about cheerleading. I've been cheerleader for a long time. Can I help out at your store? So she hired me, with like a trial basis. And I started working there. I made enough money to get the phone. I'm working $6, under the table.
Nice.
And I went to my dad. He dropped what he was doing. He brought me to get my phone. And I think for me, that was one of the biggest lessons that I've learned in my life. And it's really fueled my ambition, and just, if there's a will, there's a way. So I kind of took that story and carried on through different parts of my life. I had like a little brief sports chat fanatic show in college where I used to interview NFL players.
Nice.
This really wasn't fulfilling for me at the end of the day. So the summer of 2015, I set a date to go find my birth family. And that's like really when like a lot of things in my life changed. And I was sitting on a couple board of directors because I loved giving back, and I was just so torn with what I wanted to do with my life and confused. But finding my family gave me that sense of closure, and like you mentioned before, it showed me where I could be, and made me really feel like I have to do more, for my fellow Americans, my fellow community members, and in my family that's down there and not up here. So there's just so many opportunities here. So I came back from South America after traveling to 2 different countries to find my family. I decided to get into politics. I ran for the Board of Education with 0 political experience. I was new to the town, like had 0 name recognition. I was the only Hispanic candidate and the youngest candidate to run. And I ended up taking the 7th out of 9 seats. So I was very proud of that. And, really my trip fueled that kind of drive to, step into kind of the unknown and something where I really, in a lot of people's minds had no business doing, because I wasn't in education. I didn't have kids. But for me, it wasn't about any of that. It was about doing good for my community, and bringing kind of a fresh take. So shortly after this, I launched my LLC, kind of as a light at the end of the tunnel sort of idea. I was too scared to do it on, to go off and just do it. I had responsibilities, and, that caused this kind of ongoing fear that it was, frivolous to go off and do my own thing when I had, a new mortgage. I was about to get married. I wanted kids. Like, to start my own thing just seemed, irresponsible. And I really built that up into my head. But having the LLC, though, kind of gave me that like glimmer of hope that maybe someday. So through that, I was unhappy in the corporate world, dealing with the politics. At one point, a little bullying action going on. then I got laid off while pregnant, and that was kind of the icing on
Uh,
the cake for me to get out. Because I was so set on the fact that this biweekly paycheck just hung over my head as a motivation, but also like kind of like shackles. It made me feel
mhm.
like, this was the right thing to do for my family, for my future, and it was secure until it wasn't secure. So getting laid off for me was a huge game changer, and it was really, I guess, kind of the kick in the pants I needed to go full force with my business. And of course, my son, when he was born, I looked at him and I go, there's no way I'm going back, you know, to the potential of, having like a bullying or, confrontational situation, with a teammate, that really wasn't acting like a teammate, or, you know, the politics of business or the red tape or any of that, or the facade that, a company was doing good for the community when really it was more for like a Facebook plug. Um, so I just looked at my son, I go, I'm not going back. I have my LLC, I'm going to do it. That's not working for someone else is not guaranteed. So I was just ready to kind of take the bull by the horns and do my own thing. Started consulting in 2019 for just one client while I raised my son. My husband was working in a different state, so it was, full-time mom and part-time work, which was okay. Got my feet wet a little bit and my confidence up. And then in 2020, I went full force. Ended up hitting my pre-COVID sales goals and my client goals, despite being in a totally new state and having zero clients. So it was, it's looking back on it, like it floors me, and it just feels like everything happened the way it was supposed to, even though sometimes I was like, banging my head against the wall or coming home miserable. And it's just like, looking back now, it's like, I wish I could have told myself then it could be so much better.
Mhm. Yeah, well, I definitely appreciate you for
Yeah.
sharing that, and I think so many times we have those seeds of like kind of imposter syndrome or feeling like we shouldn't take those chances or take those gaps. But I think, like you, I've been laid off, and sometimes when you get laid off, it kind of snaps you into, okay, nothing is guaranteed. These things that we think are guaranteed, that we think are sometimes stable, sometimes are not. And sometimes the best bet that we can make is on ourselves, just as you did when you were a kid, and finding a way out of no way. Sometimes we have to be able to do that. And there's definitely opportunities that we start to look at things in a completely different way. And so I know I touched on it a little bit, when I read your bio. Could you just take us through a little bit more on this LLC, this company that you started, and how you serve the clients that you work with?
Yeah, so one of my first few jobs out of college was at a promotional marketing company. And, when you're in college, they teach you all about like ad agencies and just like these higher level like marketing job concepts, as opposed to like all of the little things that go in marketing. Because really every company should have some sort of like marketing department, or whether or not they outsource, like every company should be doing marketing no matter like what they are. And I had no idea that like the branded product, ad specialty space existed. And it's like a $20 billion industry. And
Mhm.
it's so much fun because essentially I online shop for my clients. So I have a database of branded products, so everything from pens to more corporate premium gifts like Bose speakers or, various other, apparel items. And what I do is I put together a package for my clients based on their budgets and their needs, and their marketing goals, and I give them the right items, and then we put the brand on it. So essentially I'm a distributor, and I love it. I absolutely love what I'm doing. And every job since that promo company I worked for, I always try incorporating that into each of the agencies I worked at, because I felt like drawn back to it because I just enjoyed it so much.
Yeah.
So that's the main focus of what we do. But we also do some consulting, and eventually we're going to be adding some sweepstakes and contests, because I have experience in that as well, working on some major brand programs. So that's what we have in the works right now. It's a lot of fun. I really enjoy showing my clients that there's an easier way to do marketing, just because I have, a great depth of knowledge on all the decoration methods and the opportunities that exist within the promotional product space.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. And I think so many times we forget and don't, understand all those different ways that we can have those touch points on the clients, or as you even kind of talked about, create that experience for those that we have that are close to us on our team.
Mhm.
And I think that sometimes when we pick up a pen and we use it, we often don't realize that sometimes there's an imprinted logo or there's something there that reminds us of that company. And that's all strategic so that
Yeah.
it allows you to be top of mind whenever people need whatever service you might provide.
Yeah. There's a couple of fun statistics. One is, the majority of consumers will keep a branded product for up to 2 years,
Mhm.
and with an average of 344 views per month. So
Mm.
depending on like the item, I love, because in my industry, there's a lot of, I guess, bad reputation as far as like, oh, that company just sells junk, that ends up in landfills. And for me, I really try to focus on an item that, might have a sustainable component to it, is recyclable, or is going to be more than a one-time use, something that people are actually going to retain and not just pitch in the garbage. So that's something that I take a lot of care with selecting. Um, and, I think that definitely makes a difference for my clients.
Yeah, and it makes so much sense because I think you start to really think, and that's where I think the marketing part really comes in. Correct me if I'm wrong, because you are really having a conversation. It sounds like you're talking and figuring out what works best for them, but at the same time, kind of translating, I guess, that into what it could be as far as an item, so that it does have that multi-use. It does, is sustainable as you mentioned, and does all those things, but at the same time helps that client and that customer stay top of mind.
Exactly.
Awesome. So, would you consider that to be what I call your secret sauce, the thing you feel kind of sets you apart and makes you unique? Is it that ability to make that transition and to be able to bring that to life for clients and customers?
Yeah, of course. I know, some of my competitors focus purely on the transaction. So, if you were to come to me and say, "Hey, I want a pen," they'd be like, "All right, here's X amount of pen options. Like, have at it, take your pick." Um, and there's some online-based companies where that's pretty much their model. You go on, you buy what you need, and that's it. You search through a bunch of items. I don't have products on my site because for me, it's about the conversation and the relationship, and I'd much
Mhm.
rather have a client with me for life than someone who just comes and orders pens once, doesn't see any results, and then doesn't use me again. So quick example, I had a florist client, and she goes to me, "I want pens," because she could afford it. She was newly starting out on her own, and didn't have a big budget, and she thought that that's all she could afford. So I gave her 6 different alternative options because I did a little discovery, questions, and asked her what her goal is. I said, "Why do you need a pen? Why do you want this?" And she said, "Well, I'm going to a farmer's market. I want to engage with people. I started my business during COVID. I I want a way to have like a continued relationship with people." And I said, "Well, a pen's not gonna achieve that for you, at least in this, arena of this farmer's market, because you have so many vendors and people, are talking to other people." I was like, "You need to stand out." So we did a lip balm and we did variable data on it. So I could have just did lip balm for her and called it a day, taking her money, giving her something to give away, which was, what in her mind she thought she wanted. But then I showed her that we could go a step beyond that for 6 extra cents, imprint on each lip balm, the number 1 through 250, and turn it into a raffle. And when she engages with her consumer, she says, "Hey, follow me on Instagram. At the end of farmers market season, I'm going to, um, announce a winner." So it took a simple giveaway and turned it into more of a promotion and a continued engagement piece. Her Instagram followers went up by 70, but for a small business, she was very happy with that increase, and ended up giving away a prize at the end. Everyone was happy. It kind of created some excitement, and it was all within her budget. So I could have simply just given her a pen, but for me, having the strategic branding experience, like I can't just do that. It's just for me, it doesn't feel right. Like I want to, do right by my clients. And I think that's really what sets us apart from our competitors is that, you know, added value of the branding experience, and also to my kind of background with like community impact and community engagement. So I'm always trying to get my clients to work together. So whether that's pooling budgets to create a bigger program, if it's all within the same community, or having you know some sort of concept where there's like a give back piece, and then we get more, sponsors and local businesses involved, for more impact and continued engagement, which I love adding to programs when I can.
Yeah, that's absolutely huge. And I mean, I think it also speaks to the ability to be able to really understand what people are trying to do.
Mhm.
Sometimes, somebody says they want a pen. It's not really that they just want a pen. They want a way to stay top of mind to engage. And once you start to drill down on that, I love how you were able to kind of bridge that gap and create something that was definitely more impactful, a lot more fun as well, too, and allows that continued engagement so that they continue to kind of stay top of mind.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So I wanted to switch gears a little bit, and I want to ask you for what I call a CEO hack. And this might be an app, a book, or a habit that you have, but what's something that makes you more effective and efficient?
Sure. So there's actually a couple.
Mhm,
Um, One is this book called The Daily Stoic.
mhm.
So this book, I read daily. It's 366 meditations on wisdom. So there's one, for each day. Actually, 366. I don't know why there's 366.
Right,
Maybe
leap
it's just
year.
extra
Leap
bonus.
year.
Oh, leap year. You're right.
Yes.
I was like, so yeah, it's just really great. Like the passages are fantastic. So it breaks down a philosopher's word into kind of modern day text. The author's Ryan Holiday, and it's just very digestible. It's a great way to start the day, and it kind of gets your head in a good space, because it seems like a lot of them are very similar, in the sense that it says, don't worry about what you cannot control. Seems to be like the premise of most of them. But I mean, it's such valuable content to have, replayed every day in your head. I know since I started reading it, like I just don't get stressed out. Like it's just insane. Or it also could be, not having the stress of working in like that corporate environment, like that
Mhm.
cutthroat environment. But I think this book definitely has helped kind of set my mindset right for the day. And then the second book I just started, so it's called Traction.
Mhm.
I guarantee this book's going to help me increase my revenue, just from the few chapters I've already read. And then I also do like gratification journal,
Mhm.
which, I find if I don't do it, I'm not as successful.
Mhm.
But when I do it, like good thing, like pretty much flies at me like crazy.
Yeah.
So those are probably my biggest hacks, I would
Yeah.
say.
I absolutely love those. And the gratification journey, you just say things like on a regular basis that gratify you, that fill you up and complete
Yeah.
you.
I mean, a personal, professional. I usually just stick to three, but sometimes I have even more.
Mhm.
And I even started doing it with my 2-year-old son. So every night he'll be like, "Mommy, what are you grateful for?" So like if I ever forget, like actually I can't forget, because if I don't do it on my own, like he kind of texts me, which is great because he's 2, and some of the stuff he's grateful for, it just makes me chuckle, like he'll be like, "I'm grateful for soup, I'm grateful for toast." But like it's just kind of that whole point of, thinking outside of yourself, and
Mhm.
being thankful for the things around you, even if they are so simplistic and, you know silly. So we've actually, my husband and I have found ourselves like saying silly things too, just, but it makes us laugh, and then we go to sleep like kind of more lighthearted. And
Mhm.
yeah, it's just been a really awesome practice for our family.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. It's funny. I started to do gratitude journal, and I have every prompt. I have to do three things that I'm grateful for. But just like you and your son and your husband, I've been able to. Sometimes you zoom over things that we take for granted, like soup and having running water and lights and
Yeah.
all of those things that actually, build up to our day. And sometimes we take for granted, but it helps you to start to see even more. And I absolutely love, I've heard great things about the book Traction, and then the 366 gratitude, or the Stoic journal. Because I think so many times I've heard the phrase that there's nothing new under the sun. Sometimes we say it in different ways, but to be able to tap into the minds of those great philosophers and people that have done phenomenal things, and to be able to kind of understand it, it does allow you to kind of be a little bit more at peace, because you know that there's nothing new under the sun, I guess you could say.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes you feel a little more connected to just like humanity.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And so I wanted to ask you now for what I call a CEO nugget. And you might have already touched on this, but this is a word of wisdom, or something you might tell a client, or if you jumped into a time machine, you might tell your younger business self.
Yeah, so I think, yeah, I did kind of like allude to this a little bit, but I really want people to know it's possible to love what you do. I've seen so many people throughout the years, and not that I'm like old or anything, but I've seen people, young and old, that are just miserable with their jobs. If we spend the majority of our life working, like, shouldn't it be something we love? Yeah, I think it's possible to love what you do, and lead a purposeful life while having a healthy work-life rhythm. And I say rhythm because
Mm.
a mentor of mine, we were chatting about work-life balance, and we kind of got into the word balance, and what does that mean? It means, like, equal, kind of creating like a scale and having it weighed out equally. And in my mind, for myself, for my current interns, my future employees, like, I never want the work that they do for me to outweigh their family. That's my personal mentality, and I just feel like that's not right. So for me, I call it a rhythm, because your family should never fall to your job or anything else in your life. And nor yourself. Yourself and your family, I think, need to definitely hold more weight and more of that balance than your job. And I think that only leads to greater productivity and success within your workforce. And I just wish that more, leaders and businesses just understood that, and whether or not they say it, actually, like, kind of live by it, lead by it.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. As I love that word. I'd always said work-life integration, but I
Mm,
love that rhythm piece because just like, a really good song, sometimes it gets loud,
yeah,
sometimes it gets a little lower, but understanding that it's all in rhythm and all in, I guess,
yeah.
congruence is huge. So I absolutely love that.
Yeah, I was originally a music major.
Mm,
I was going to be
okay.
in the music world. So for me, like, it's like life is a full-on song. There's
Mm,
highs, there's lows, there's happy parts, there's sad parts. And when you, like, really break down the rhythm, and the melody of a song, it's just, it's not always the same. There's little bits and pieces, different instruments. And, you know, like I told my interns, there's times when you're going to work more. I said, I don't believe in a you know, traditional work week or work schedule. I said, get what I need, done from you. And if it takes you 1 hour, if it takes you 3 hours, like, obviously if it takes you 10 hours, let me know, because that's way too much. But, you know, I don't, it doesn't matter to me as long as you get it done and get it done well. And, I think that rhythm just kind of encompasses that.
yeah, I absolutely love that. Yeah, and I love how you kind of talked about too that so many times we don't realize that rhythm is even a possibility in our lives between work and personal life and so many
Mhm.
different things. But I think a lot of times once you realize that that's possible, you can start to create that. But so many people don't even know or believe or feel like that's even something that's possible. So I love that you said that as well.
Yeah.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So now I wanted to ask you my absolute favorite question, which is the definition of what it means to be a CEO. And we're hoping to have different quote unquote CEOs on the show. So Amanda, what does being a CEO mean to you?
It means being a leader and sending the elevator down to future generations. So for me,
Mm,
every action I take, everything I say, um, is creating kind of like a ripple effect for the future. And I just feel that um, it's such a great, I don't want to say pressure, but it's such a great, oh gosh, I can't even think of the word.
opportunity.
Yeah, opportunity, and, position to be in, and powerful position to be in. And I don't want to abuse it. So I've seen, things that make me kind of sad in, like, the corporate world, and, people being mistreated, like I said, mentioned, like bullying, stuff like that. Just, I have zero tolerance for. So really leading by example, and, kind of putting your money where your mouth is. And I really do my best when I say something, like, to do it. And I think that that's really what being a CEO means, kind of being like head chief, head honcho, and like doing right by your employees, by your clients. And um, yeah, exactly.
Nice. I love that. I love your analogies, like elevator, piece as well too, because getting that opportunity to really, continue to succeed, but also understand that we're all kind of intertwined and being able to bring people along to show them and to be and to even learn from them. I think that is absolutely true leadership. And I think when you're able to do that and you execute on that, as you said so well, you're not just impacting yourself or your family, you start to create that ripple effect and you're impacting your clients and the people your clients work with and they serve. And it really starts to get really broad broad and you really get to see that impact that you make. But if you're doing it well, then you really start to see the fruits of that. So I definitely appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate that. And I appreciate your time even more. What I wanted to do is just pass you the mic, so to speak, just to see if there's anything additional you can let our readers and listeners know. And of course, how best they can get a hold of you and find out about all the awesome things that you're working on.
Yeah, of course. So I talk a lot. I think I probably dived into more than what you needed me to. But yeah, I love connecting with new people, learning new things. I'm big into travel and culture. So I love knowing people in different areas because in case I end up there, like I always like having someone I call and be like, hey, like I'm in Atlanta, or hey, I'm here, like let's get together.
Mm-hmm.
I know COVID kind of makes things challenging, but hopefully things will get back to normal sooner than later. But yeah, please follow me on Facebook and Instagram at Otraway. Part of the reason why I created Otraway was it didn't exist. So I was able to get the handle for everything without, fighting for it. Yeah, so it's the power of creating, a brand and having a word that doesn't exist. But yeah, please follow us on our journey. We're hoping in the next few years to hit the $1 million mark. That's my goal. I want to bring on more teammates and show them that they can love what they do and still have that rhythm. And yeah, feel free to pick my brain, reach out. There's any Paraguayans out there, like, hey. There's not like a whole lot up here. So yeah, definitely reach out to me. I'm actually putting together this custom curated branded Paraguayan box of goodies, cool, which I'm going to sell. And then a portion of that is going to go to helping someone find their family.
Awesome.
So I'm actually in the process. I came up with the idea on Friday. And
it's
nice. Almost like fully ready to be executed. So if anyone is Paraguayan out there or just loves supporting, adoptees on their journey of just kind of reconnecting with their past, keep an eye out because I'll be posting this cool custom box that I'm putting together of some awesome Paraguayan swag.
Nice. Well, I definitely appreciate that, Amanda. We will have the links and information in the show notes. I truly appreciate you for diving in deep because I think that's the beauty of hearing, so many stories and hearing what everybody's doing is it brings us so much closer together. And I love that you had that idea. You had it right before we had the opportunity to do the podcast. So I love that even more. So we had the opportunity to talk about it. And I think, so many times in life, we don't realize the impact that we can make. But I think that when you start to believe and actually execute on crafting your life, your business, and all those things with that rhythm that you spoke to, that's when you really start to see really great creations, really making a huge impact, and things just kind of take off from there. So appreciate you for doing that and sharing that with us today. And I hope you have a great rest of the day.
Thank you so much.